My name is Rahima Barber. I'm the chief curator of the Kalamazoo Institute of Arts. I'd like to welcome you to a conversation with Eva Rubinstein. Miss Rubinstein has four photographs in our collection of photography, which boasts about 900 photographs. And two of those photographs have been included in the exhibition Framing Moments from the Kalamazoo Institute of Arts. That show was curated by Dr. Deborah Willis and is currently on view in our galleries and will be on view until May 16th, 2021. So enough about a little bit about the exhibition. We hope that you've gone to see it, and by now you'll also have been able to see a digital rendering on of the exhibition on our website. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Miss Rubinstein. She was born in 1933 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, while her parents, Aniela and Arthur Rubinstein, the famous pianists, were on a concert tour in South America. When the family was not traveling, they lived mainly in Paris with the outbreak of World War II in 1939. They immigrated to the United States. Eva Rubinstein made a career as a dancer and actress in New York on and off Broadway, including the original production of Diary of Anne Frank. Her marriage to Reverend William Sloane Coffin and three children have brought a whole new awareness of the real world as contrasted with her previous life, and after the divorce, she never returned to make believe. In photography, she found a way to research her surroundings, what she calls the third dimension, the result of a fusion of outer reality as we have perceive it with our deepest sensibilities and responses to that reality. This fusion produces a kind of interior landscape beneath the surface of the image, which we are free to explore and to understand. Eva Rubinstein's work has been exhibited internationally and is held in numerous private and public collections like the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, the Kiyosata Museum of Photographic Arts in Hokuto, Japan, Museum Ludwig in Cologne, and of course, here at the Kalamazoo Institute of Arts. I'd like to welcome you, Miss Eva Rubinstein. Welcome. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
I made it through some of the pronunciation. I'm going to try to shape it up as we get through.
It was imaginative.
Well, thank you so much for saying you would join us. I've just sort of fallen in love with your photographs. They are really powerful, and I'm really excited to introduce you to our community today. I think um, there are some folks here that are familiar with our photography collection. And I heard a little birdie actually told me recently that you came here some time ago. Like you visited Kalamazoo for a workshop many
I did
years
two
ago.
workshops there
Yes.
in
So
the
I
80s.
heard that you did this workshop here. So I'm gonna make you I'm gonna ask you to make us a little promise at the beginning here that you'll tell us just a little bit about your time, if you can remember a little bit about any sort of
Well,
funny little
it was
things
only
that
50
happened
years
along.
ago, so I suppose I should remember something.
Okay. So I'm gonna just sort of start off with the beginning. And let's see. So you come these. I wanted to start off with this image. I found this and I thought it was really lovely. I know we've touched on this previously, but your family has a deep background in music and performing arts, and so I really would like you to kind of walk us through how you started taking images, capturing photographs. And
Well,
one of which is right here. This looks like this is an image that you took of your parents here.
that's right. And the other one I didn't take. That's
No, yes.
in our house in Paris. Actually, both of them were taken in Paris, but one by me and one by somebody else. Well, what happened was simply that in my very early life, like 5 years old in Paris before the war, my parents took me to the ballet when I was little. And I got so excited that I told them immediately that I had to be a dancer. And they sent me to a school run by a very famous old Polish dancer who had actually been the mistress of the young Tsar before he became Tsar Nicholas. So she was a princess. And we had to bow and curtsy when she came into the room, which was lovely. So anyway, I took lessons there. And when we had to run to America, when the war broke out, I started lessons in America, and I kept on with the ballet lessons until I was 15. I even didn't go to school for 4 years. I had a tutor because it was so far to my lesson, my ballet lesson, that it took, an hour to get there, an hour to come back, an hour and a half lesson. So I had no time to be in school. And I would have a tutor for 3 hours in the morning, and I had 3 hours of homework, and then I'd go to bed. And that was my life for 4 years, from 11 to 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided I really needed just to go to a normal school. So I did that for 2 years. Then I went to Scripps College for a year, and I did some modern dance there. And then when I was 18, I went for a long semester to UCLA, to the theater department at the University of California at Los Angeles. And that sort of started me off on theater. Then I started doing little off Hollywood Boulevard theater. And that led to a screen test at MGM. And they told me, you are never going to get any work here because you look funny, you don't look American, you have an accent, and what the hell, we'll give you a contract and you won't have anything to do for years. You should go to New York.
Mm.
So I ran home to my parents and said, oh, they said I should go to New York, which is all what I wanted anyway. So we arranged that, and just after my 20th birthday, I went off to New York and started auditioning here and there, first for ballet lessons, which was odd because when I went to the New York City Ballet School, I hadn't danced on toe. I hadn't used toe shoes for 5 years. They put me in the class with the company, with the professional company. I said, no, my gosh, I can't do that. I can't keep up with them. And they said, oh, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. And I wasn't, and I would sneak out about half an hour before the end because I couldn't do what they were doing. I mean, it was way too advanced for me. But anyway, I got my feet back into ballet. And then I went for an audition for a Broadway musical and found myself cast in it, which was kind of amazing. So for 3 months, it was a terrible show, ghastly. And it ran for only 3 months on Broadway, thank God. But in the process, I met a lot of people and made a lot of friends. And one thing led to another. And the next thing, I'm doing off-Broadway theater. And I'm doing Chekhov, and I'm doing the Dybbuk, for instance, and things like that. And somebody from a producer's company saw me, and the next thing I know, I'm auditioning for the Broadway company of The Diary of Anne Frank. And at first I was auditioning for Anne, but the problem was, well, I was 22 by then, and I was supposed to be 13, and I was a little bit too tall for the man who was going to play the father. So I ended up playing the older sister who has 12 lines in the whole play, but she's on stage every single minute. So you have to, stay alive because people can see you, even if you're in a slightly darkened area of the set. You could see the whole set with all the people in their little rooms. So you couldn't just sort of lie back and, take it easy. You had to, you had to keep on being the character even when you weren't doing anything. So that lasted for a year and a half, during which I had made the acquaintance of this very amazing person who was then in divinity school at Yale, but he had been in the CIA. He had been in the American Army when he was very young for 2 years and to the end of the war. And he spoke Russian and German and English and French. And he played the piano because he wanted to be a pianist before the war and had studied in Europe. So he sang and he played the piano and he spoke 4 languages. And I thought to myself, well, that sounds promising, And the next thing I know, we get married, which upset my father considerably because marrying a Christian minister was just not quite in his set of cards. But he was gracious and he did come to the wedding after all and walked me down the aisle. And then after a couple of years, my husband got the job of being chaplain at Yale. He was the youngest. He was 32 then. He was the
Mhm.
youngest chaplain they'd ever had. And there I am suddenly with one baby and another one coming the same year. I had them 11 months apart. And then I had another one 15 months after that. So I had a 12-room house. I had students and guests in the house all the time. I had a dinner party every Saturday for the visiting guest or preacher or whoever, staying in our house as well.
Mhm.
And the three kids who were not quite 2.5, all of them. So that was a challenge. So we say,
Yes.
luckily, thank gosh, I had someone to help in the house because I don't think I could have done it otherwise. But even so, it was a big job.
Wow.
Then when the kids were a little older and they went to school, I had daytime, more to myself. My husband was in his office and the kids were in school. So I sort of got a job in a small theater company in New Haven, which actually my husband and I had helped found. It was sort of called the Long Wharf Theater. And I worked there as a sort of PR person, and I took care of visiting artists, visiting actors who came from New York, and sometimes I knew them from my past life. And then I started doing some assisting. And when the photographer was taking photographs of the dress rehearsal, he had to make the photographs, develop them, print them, frame them, and hang them in the lobby for the next night, opening night. So
Mhm.
one night there were so many people in the cast that there were just many, many, many photographs to take. And I went back to his darkroom with him and spent the whole night learning how to spot prints, making all the little dust white spots. And that was the first time that I saw photographs coming up actually in the developer, not like in the movies where it happens so fast and everything, but
Mhm.
really. And I got goosebumps. I got literal goosebumps. I even get them now when I think about that moment because it was sort of like a flash all of a sudden, thinking, oh my gosh, you can do anything with this. You can go anywhere. You can say what you feel about all sorts of things and people. You don't need costumes or a director or a choreographer or language. You can just do it all by yourself with this little black box. And it
Mhm.
just threw me completely. And I got him to teach me a little bit about, the mechanics of it all, how to work an enlarger and so on. And the next thing, I am spending every minute that I don't have to do, house things or take care of the kids or cook or whatever. I'm out in the New Haven streets or something, just trying to photograph. And that's how it started.